Good afternoon, everybody. What is going on? I am jeffgrantMEDIA, and today's a long-term review. We're going to be taking a look at the London Bridge Trading 14L Daypack version 2, or 8006A, or the LBT Daypack, as it's pretty much just been come to be called these days. Now, I bought this bag with my own money almost 2 years ago, I think like a year and a half ago or so now, and I have been using this as basically my dad bag that entire time. So this has been my go-to dad bag for almost a year and a half. I believe I got this in June of 2021. It is now the end of February 2023. So like a year and a half I've been using this bag. This thing has been just about everywhere with me. I have worn it and with every jacket, t-shirt combination you can possibly imagine. We're gonna get into all of that. But how do I like the bag? Is it worth it? How did it hold up? I mean, you can see it still looks good after a solid year and a half of almost constant use. This bag actually, it lives in the trunk of my car now, so I always have it on me, and it gets thrown around, moved around, because groceries go in the trunk, things go in the trunk, the dog jumps in the trunk of the car, so this thing's constantly getting kicked, pushed, sat on, and moved around, and it still looks really, really good. Now, I'm still figuring out the format for these long-term reviews, so what I did was I went through my initial negatives, made a list, and I'm going to touch on each of those real quick to start. Had to get my notebook. So my negatives included the bag still leans over, and that's right here. You can kind of see we get this little bit of a hunch going on in the bag, and that's because the way the bag is designed, this air channel right here is pretty much in the perfect conjunction with this zipper here. And if you put a lot of heavy stuff in this top part of the bag kind of gets this hunch. Now, it's a very floppy bag. It does kind of stand up on its own, which is pretty cool because it does have a fairly rigid back, if you will. The version 1 had like no rigid back at all, but this has the hook and loop back panel, as well as a better back panel on the actual bag. Now, over the past year and a half, this is not something that has bothered me in any way, shape, or form, because one of the cool things is, yes, the bag still stands up on its own, even with a little bit of the hunch and the lean. I feel like it kind of worked itself out, if you will, as the bag kind of broke in. It doesn't lean quite as much, which is weird. You think it would have leaned more, but I think the whole bag kind of broke in, so it kind of just flumps down. Flumps, it's a word, I said it, as opposed to kind of just bending over. But I mean, the bag, it stands up pretty good on its own, and it hasn't been an issue at all. I didn't like it at first, but honestly, over time, I don't even notice it anymore. This really thin grab handle. Now, this bag used to live on my passenger seat where I'd always have to be grabbing it by the handle, moving it over back and forth, and I don't like thin grab handles. It used to be something that I complained about quite a bit in videos, but a lot of bags have them, so I've really just kind of gotten used to it. And honestly, because the bag lives in my trunk now, I don't have to grab and carry it back and forth from the car seat anymore. So when I'm grabbing it from the trunk, it's in there, I just grab it. I grab it from wherever I can, and I slide it around. Because the bag's not brand new and I'm not trying to keep it pristine anymore, and even with all of that, it's fine. So the thin grab handle over time doesn't bother me at all. The grommet. Now, I hate grommets on bags. The only bag that I like the grommets on is my Rucker, because that bag is meant to take abuse, and if I chose to work out and get in the water like a lot of people do at events, yes, I would definitely want the drainage. But for something like this that's not meant to actually have a military application or to be rucked in, because this is not going to handle the rigors of rucking, it does not need to be there. Now, it hasn't really been an issue for me. I haven't seen any ingress from the bottom of the bag using it. And again, this bag has been everywhere, but I do take note when sometimes I'm trying to set the bag down that I'll either put it frontwards so I don't have to get the grommet, because I also don't want to put it on the back and get the back soaked and put that on my body. So I'll usually end up just putting the bag down, or if I can, I'll just hang it. So the grommet, still hate it there. Don't think it should be there. I would like to get rid of that. So London Bridge, if you're looking at me for version 3, remove the grommet. And the other thing that I mentioned, and I would love to see removed in version 3, is the quick release on the straps. That does not need to be here. This is a consumer pack. There's no reason that you would need a quick release strap on a consumer bag. Now, I get it, for a military application, you may need to get the bag off quick, and you may be carrying other gear, and you may want to just snap and remove the bag. But even though LBT does make some higher end, more military aimed gear, this is not a piece of that. So it does not need to have these quick release straps. It's a fail point. Now, I did note that sometimes the strap will kind of like rub on your inner arm or your sides. I don't notice it anymore. I guess I'm just used to it. I haven't felt it rubbing, and I've worn this bag for long periods of time in the heat, long periods of time in the cold, chasing haze around parks, around the Please Touch Museum. I've worn this thing just about everywhere, so I would still, it doesn't really bother me anymore, but I would still like to see it removed because I just feel like it's a fail point in the bag. One of my other points of note, and something I would still love to see on this bag, is I would love to have some MOLLE webbing on the front of this bag. I would just like to be able to strap something to the front of it, you know, keep the carabiner on the front so it's not hitting me in the back of the head, or strap the hand sanitizer to the outside of it. I would just really, really like to use that. But it's not a deal breaker because I'm still loving this bag after a year and a half. And it has one of my favorite features in a bag, water bottle pockets. So, this thing has held everything I have thrown at it. It will even take a 32-ounce Nalgene, and it will hold this. Boom, 32-ounce Nalgene right inside that bag, that water bottle pocket, no issues. This thing swallows anything I throw at it. And it's a 14-liter pack, and it's got huge water bottle pockets. I love that. And speaking of the size, 14 liters, I went from a Mystery Wrench In-N-Out 19 into the LBT 14-liter Daypack, and there were some things I loved about that MR bag, but that was a 19-liter pack, and I still feel like I can fit more in here than I ever could in the In-N-Out 19. So for a 14-liter pack, I can fit a ton of stuff in here. Now, yes, I did go with a multi-cam black, and even though it is camo, I don't feel like this thing really stands out in a crowd. It's the darker camo, it's not woodland, it's a little more subdued. I've taken this through the city, I've taken this to Knoebels a ton of times, and the bag fits in just about everywhere, and it works just about everywhere. I have worn this bag with so many different jacket combinations, I can't even remember them all. And this bag has felt great in every scenario that I've worn it in. Now, even the back panel, it does have some decent air channeling to it. Now, I have worn this in very hot summer days to very cold winter days, and you're gonna sweat if it's hot. But it did vent me fairly well for what it is. And even though this is a little bit more rigid than, say, the V1 was, and I've never used the V1, but I've used plenty of floppy backpacks, even though it has a little bit more of a rigid back panel, it still does give me the flex that I need. Now, I'm not chasing Hazel through tunnels at parks like I used to, but there's one park that we go to in particular that's like 2 stories, you gotta climb ladders and go through these small walkways, and I can still wear this on my back. I have plenty of flex. I can go down the big, huge 2-story slides with this bag on, no problem. So even though it does have a slightly more rigid back panel, it still has plenty of flex to it, so you can chase your 4-year-old through the park with no worries. You're fitting through all of the small crevices. The bag is going to conform to your body. So yeah, it's been working really, really well. You can't even tell that this bag is like a year and a half old. It's got like some fuzzies on it. Really, if I hit this with a lint roller, you would probably never know that it was a year and a half old because it's still holding up really, really well. So it is definitely standing the test of time. And again, this thing has been living in the trunk of my car. So when I'm throwing groceries in there, I'm either moving this or throwing groceries right on top of it. It's getting kicked around. If Duke jumps in the trunk of the car, he's sitting on it. I mean, it's in there. It's not being, I'm not being gentle with this bag. It's not new. I'm not trying to keep it pristine. I'm using this bag and it still works great. I'm still loving this bag. I'm going to continue to use this bag as my dad bag because I love the way it functions. Yes, there are some shortcomings to the bag, but all in all, they're not enough to make me stop using the pack. And again, it has definitely stood the test of time. Look, I'm seeing like fuzzes on this, like not even dirt. There's like some fuzzies on here that I probably picked up from my clothing. So the bag holds up really, really, really well. I'm very, very pleased with the way this bag has been handling, and it's gonna continue to handle for me. So if you're thinking about it, yep, The bag will definitely hold up over time. Does it have a couple of flaws? Yes, everything has a couple of flaws, but ultimately the bag works great as a day pack, as a dad bag. I'm very, very pleased with the LBT 14-liter Daypack version 2, and I think you will be too. So if you like this video or any of my other videos, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Smash that big red button and ring that bell right next to it so you get notifications next time I post a brand new video. Good night.